Welcome back to Close Up. The senators running for president have to get creative to keep a foot on the 2020 campaign trail as they hear the impeachment trial in Washington. Amy Klobuchar stopped by our Hearst Bureau last week to talk with us about the need to hear from witnesses as the Senate decides President Trump's fate. Senator, your campaign is getting hot at just the right time here in New Hampshire, which makes the impeachment trial that much more difficult for you. Certainly, of all of the candidates, you're trying to break into that top tier, and perhaps that makes getting stuck in Washington even more problematic. So how do you survive this?
I first survive it by knowing that our democracy has to survive, and that means going forward with this impeachment proceeding, not putting the witnesses, in the deep freeze and not allowing them to testify. This has really bothered me as a U.S. Senator, and it should bother the people of New Hampshire who have been there from the beginning in our democracy. You got to have a fair process, and no witnesses means no process. And for me, it's my duty, and I am so proud to have so many incredible supporters in New Hampshire. People like Joe Foster, the former Attorney General, and people like Ambassador Smith that New Hampshire was so proud to send to become our ambassador to Saudi Arabia, to a number of legislators, and including our recent endorsements of some of the House leaders and people like Deborah Pignatelli. It's a moment in time where you've got to believe in politics the New Hampshire way. And to me, that means House parties. It means people meeting me, coming on board. As you know, we had hundreds and hundreds of people, even on New Year's Eve in Keene at 5 o'clock. We had over 500 people at a town hall meeting. And so I believe in these early states because the early states give an opportunity for candidates like me who have this strong track record of winning in red and purple districts and a strong track record of passing bills and getting things done, but maybe aren't as well known. And you think about what New Hampshire has given our country, many, many winning presidents, including Bill Clinton and including Jimmy Carter and including the strength that Barack Obama showed in the state. It's really something. And so that's what I'm hoping is going to carry me through, because New Hampshire listens. The fact that we're gaining, the fact that we've got these endorsers on the ground and such a great operation makes a difference. And then finally, my views. My views are very consistent with the U.S. senators from New Hampshire, Senator Shaheen and Senator Hassan. You can look at our voting records. I think we are all senators that believe in having people's back and getting things done. And so that's what I bring to the people of New Hampshire.
You've been trying to win over former Trump voters here in the Granite State. Doesn't the endorsement of the New York Times, that stamp of approval from the elite of the elite, doesn't that kind of undercut you with that group of people?
No. I think that they actually endorsed two people, and they were very clear. They endorsed my colleague Elizabeth Warren for very different reasons than they endorsed me. They endorsed me acknowledging that I was the standard bearer and the one that best could lead from the middle of our party, and I would say from the middle of the country. I live in the middle of the country, but I'm someone that's always believed in bringing people together instead of shutting them out. From the moment I endorsed in that blizzard in the middle of the Mississippi River with 4 inches of snow on my head just to impress the people of New Hampshire, I've been very clear that I think we need to cross the river of our divides to get to a higher plane in our politics. And that's why I come at this with such a sense of urgency, with a 100-day plan, which with 137 things that we can get done without Congress that are legal, with work on infrastructure. When you look at the need for the commuter rail to New Hampshire, and you look at some of the effects of climate change and how we cannot wait more than a day after I get into office before tackling that. Long-term care, I'm the only candidate to really focus on the debate stage and in my plans on long-term care and mental health and some of the things that we know are tough in our cities, but also in our rural areas. And then finally, as you mentioned, remember being in northern New Hampshire, which reminds me very much of northern Minnesota, and having a voter standing in line, and he was among many voters with stickers that said, you know, I'm a climate change voter, they would say. I'm a Supreme Court voter. I'm a reproductive rights voter. And here's this guy with a brown jacket and no sticker. He leans over and he says, I say, sir, you don't have a sticker. And he says, that's because I was a Trump voter. And these are my neighbors and they don't know. But I'm not doing it again. There are people out there that stayed home in 2016. There are people that voted for other candidates. And I think it's really important, if we want to win big and get all these things done that we know are just sitting there waiting for the work of a president that's actually going to get up every morning, not to send a mean tweet, but to get things done for people. And we can only do this if we win big. And that, of course, means Senator Shaheen's race and sending that incredible leader back to the U.S. Senate. But it also means reaching out to people, making sure that we not just win in New Hampshire, but win across the country. And I'm the one to do that.
Your record of getting things done in the Senate is clear, but if you're the nominee, President Trump is very likely going to try and attack you as part of the swamp. He'll lump you in with that group of people. We hear from some people who are more attracted to Pete Buttigieg as a candidate saying, we like Pete because there's no surface area there. He can't be attacked as a part of Washington. So how will you counter, as the nominee, that attack that you're just part of the swamp?
Well, I think it's naive to think that they're not going to attack any candidate. They're going to attack every single candidate. And I think what you want is someone that can look at Donald Trump and say, you know what? The middle of the country, it's not flyover country to me. I live there. And I am someone that can show that I can get things done across the aisle. And I have a lot of respect for Mayor Pete. I've said that very clearly. But I think having someone that's been able to actually win and win in red and purple districts is going to be so important. I've done it over and over and over again. I bring the receipts to this election, not just the talking points. And I also think having someone that has shown that she can get things done in Washington, passing over 100 bills. I think that matters. And we've had that debate on the debate stage. I know that debate will continue into New Hampshire. But I think I have the strongest case of bringing this ticket to victory.
We want to get you on record with one last quick question here. You've had a pretty good taste of New Hampshire politics in the primary now. Can New Hampshire count on you at the convention this year to support its continued first-in-the-nation voting status?
Yes. I am a big fan of the 4 states going early, and of course that includes Nevada and South Carolina and Iowa as well. And I think having these smaller states, it's so obvious right now. You've got 2 billionaires running, including one guy that's going to take out a Super Bowl ad. You have got senators that are doing their constitutional duty, 4 of us in this very important hearing in the Senate. And if it was just all about ads and if you had the most money, I don't think you get the best candidate. The virtue of New Hampshire being first in the 4 early states is that you have states where people, and they're very different, the 4 states, demographically, but you have states where people actually get to know you. They demand answers to their questions. They show up at town hall meetings. I think that should matter in a democracy. And you just watch what's going to happen here. Because my guess is the candidate, and I think it's going to be me, that emerges at the end of all this is going to be very different than the one that's spending the most money on ads, or the ones that have the biggest name identification, or, you know, seems the coolest from the get-go. I think it's going to be someone that unites people, that people think can win.
All right, Senator Klobuchar, thank you for your time.